Michael Corleone is one of cinema's greatest tragic figures. When we first meet him in The Godfather, he's a young war hero sitting with his American girlfriend Kay at his sister's wedding in his military uniform. By the end of The Godfather Part II, he's a broken man, alone, isolated, and haunted by the choices he's made. The Godfather saga isn't just the story of a mafia empire, it's the story of how Michael Corleone transforms from reluctant outsider to ruthless don to hollow king. At Connie's wedding, director Francis Ford Coppola is careful to immediately highlight the differences between Michael and his family, from the way he dresses to having him sit away from the rest of the Corleones. He's not wearing the tuxedos and smoking the cigars of the other Corleones. He's a war hero in uniform, clean-cut, respectable, as he tells Kay after the alarming Luca Brasi story. "That's my family, Kay, not me." In this moment, Michael represents hope, the Corleone who might escape, the Corleone who might live a legitimate American life. But once his father is shot, Michael is pulled back into the orbit of the family business. What begins as an act of loyalty, of necessity, visiting Vito in the hospital, standing guard over him when Michael realizes a setup is in place, slowly becomes a slide into something darker. When Michael volunteers to kill Sollozzo and Captain McCluskey, it's a turning point. He knows this is the only way, insisting to his brother and to himself that it's just business, but it's also his first step into the family's violent world. Coppola films the restaurant assassination with quiet and ever-increasing tension. The camera lingers on Michael's face as he steels himself, his eyes lighting up with trepidation before the explosion of violence. There's no going back. By the end of part 1, Michael is transformed. The baptism montage, his nephew baptized in purity while his enemies are executed, is both horrifying and awe-inspiring. The duality of Michael's life is cemented. He has taken on his father's throne, but at the cost of his soul. The final image, Kay's face as the door closes on her, confirms the transformation. Michael has become the Don. Part 2 begins with a parallel, another family celebration, this time Michael's son's first communion, but the tone is different. Where Vito's family wedding was warm, intimate and full of life, Michael's party is cold, guarded, almost political. We're no longer watching an Italian family, we're watching an American regime, as symbolized by Frank Pentangeli trying to get the band to play the tarantella, which ends with a mocking "Pop goes the weasel" as Pentangeli is laughed off the stage. The old world is gone. Michael is now at the height of his power. He's rich, feared, politically connected. On the surface, he has achieved everything his father wanted for the family. But where Vito built power through loyalty and respect, Michael rules through paranoia and fear. An assassination attempt at Lake Tahoe confirms his deepest anxieties. Who betrayed him? Who can he trust? His empire becomes a cage, and he begins to suspect everyone, even his closest allies. This paranoia erodes his personal life. His marriage with Kay collapses, a period of danger and distrust culminating in her devastating revelation that her miscarriage was actually an abortion. But the most tragic moment comes with Fredo. Michael discovers his brother's betrayal, and though Fredo is weak and pitiful, Michael cannot forgive. Feigning forgiveness, Michael betrays his brother by ordering his execution. For Michael, power has eclipsed blood. The cost becomes clear in the final scenes. Michael sits alone at his Lake Tahoe estate, silent, haunted. Coppola cuts to a flashback, young Michael at the dinner table, years before he became the Don, still insisting he wants nothing to do with the family. The contrast is brutal. That young man is gone, forever changed. And the contrast the second film provides, that of Vito building a family through trust and warmth, underscores what Michael has lost. One of the most striking elements of the first two Godfather films, Part 2 in particular, is how much of the narrative rests on Michael Corleone's eyes. Al Pacino does much of the heavy lifting of expressing Michael Corleone's sentiment, not through dialogue, but through his expressions, in particular his cold, hard eyes. It's an incredible performance, and one wonders how effective and moving the movie would be if Al Pacino didn't deliver the tour de force performance that he did, as so much hinges on the way his eyes study those around him. The Michael Corleone of Part 2 is reserved, subtle, calculating, and never lets anyone know what he's thinking. But the eyes often betray a murderous rage or repressed villainy. He never speaks more than necessary and very rarely raises his voice, and yet Pacino's performance is utterly terrifying, and it's all in the eyes. The dead eyes, whose soullessness is juxtaposed by their intense penetration. The paranoid, calculating Michael Corleone studies those around him, looking for clues, for breaks, penetrating deep past jovial facades like an apex predator waiting for a chance to pounce. He examines his brother Fredo as the two converse over drinks, with hypnotically piercing stares into the deeply uncomfortable Fredo's soul. That penetrating gaze is present during the conference in Cuba as Michael studies Roth, and later, when Michael confronts him directly, Michael is silent during Roth's tirade, instead using his fearless eyes to showcase his defiance that he isn't intimidated by Roth. There's 4 examples of Al Pacino's incredible eye acting that I wanted to touch on further. At the club, Michael checks his watch, an outsider among this bourgeoisie-esque caravan, but when Fredo mentions Joniola, Michael's eyes dart towards his brother, sharp, alert. The revelation, the slip, the bombshell that he's been waiting for, finally delivered. And then Fredo nonchalantly and jovially name-drops old man Roth, in spite of previously claiming that he didn't know the man, twisting the knife further into Michael's heart, and you see his face just sink to depths he didn't know existed. Without missing a beat, he sends a signal to his bodyguard to murder Johnny Ola, then turns back, eyes sunken, as the realization takes shape. He covers the pain in his face with his hand, a sharp, fast movement contrasted to the light, entertained figures around him. It's so powerful, you really feel the pain that he's in this moment. And all the script says of this moment, aside from Fredo's dialogue, is close on Michael turning away. Not because of the spectacle which he finds disgusting, but at what his brother is saying. If Michael would ever allow himself to cry, it would be now. Another fantastic example is towards the end of the film. Michael is sitting motionless, his eyes empty, a portrait of soullessness, unmoved by his sister kneeling in front of him, begging him to show Fredo mercy. He then approaches his brother, his eyes empty, Fredo unsure what to make of it all, before Michael reaches out a hand which Fredo reciprocates with a devastating hug. Just like he was unable to sit up in the earlier confession scene, he is unable to stand as he buries himself into Michael's bosom like a regretful son coming to his father. It's emotional, it's deep, and you get swept up in that emotion. But then it's those eyes that rise up. A devil you thought dead emerges, revealing it hasn't forgotten, hasn't forgiven, instead hoodwinked his embraced victim into another kiss of death, a hug of death, if you will, hidden from all except the one who will carry out the order. The hitman Al Neri, unable to hold the fiery stare, looking down in submission and unease. That glance is all we need to tell us Michael's forgiveness is a sham and Fredo is already marked for death. Perhaps the best example in the film is Michael's fallout with Kay. Already having had an assassination attempt made against him by an ally, his brother's betrayal, he is now faced with an infamia, the ultimate betrayal, his wife aborting their next son. Even before the blow-up, Pacino's acting is incredible. His face is warm. He's playing the husband. He looks almost like that young carefree boy from the first film. But when Kay makes it clear she has something serious to discuss, Michael's face tightens and hardens. He deploys an imposing pose on the chair. Kay has now been identified as a potential threat, another enemy, another traitor. Michael's pain and sense of betrayal in this scene is amplified by the fact that he initially tried comforting Kay regarding the abortion, acknowledging that she blames him for it and assuring her that he'll make up for it, only to be slapped in the face with the revelation. Initially, there's uncertainty, his eyes unsure, confused and shocked. Then he sinks slightly, the agony weighing down on him, before that pain becomes murderous, intense rage, the eyes locking in on Kay with bubbling, insatiable fury. As Kay goes on and on, The lips begin to quiver, the body shakes from red-hot rage, but the eyes never waver. His face is a physical manifestation of the train sound just before he shoots Sollozzo in the first film. It boils and boils until he explodes with that slap which looks like it came from the very essence of his soul, throwing his body at the woman, his hand a magnet for her face. The slap so hard he almost fell on top of her. His expression is terrifying. I can't imagine him looking at me like that and not needing an urgent underwear replacement. All the love he has for Kay, the compassion with which he started the scene, is drained and replaced by a fierce hatred which becomes a cold, chilling indifference, as expressed when he closes the door on Kay, in a mirror to the original film's ending where Al Neri shuts the door on her. It's hard to believe these two were giggling with each other in bed or buying presents in snowy New York in the first film. He appears like a looming monster, glances downwards, perhaps to her belly, where his unborn aborted child might have been. You're out, Kay. And then we have the end of the film, a slightly older Michael, victorious in a tangible sense, his enemies wiped out, at the very apex of his power, but alone and rotten. As the camera closes in, his face darkens until only half his face is properly visible. He's in his compound, but his eyes are a million miles away. A haunting final shot of the film, one made more powerful by the incredible flashback scene that precedes it. Perhaps that scene is what Michael is reminiscing about in this very moment, and a scene that embodies the Bible verse, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" So there you have it. What do you make of Michael Corleone's soulless eyes? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.